you would all like to rise with me and say the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I should quit being teacher me.
Oh, yeah, I can't say.
I gotta, we swipe in and All right. Roll call. Miss Atchison.
Here.
Mr. Gross. Miss Hamel.
Present.
Ms. Nixon.
Present.
Ms. Powell. Ms. Race. And Mayor Conley is here.
I would like to make a motion to excuse Mrs. Powell, Mrs. Race, and Mr. Gross.
Or okay, we wish them all well. We have a lot of illness tonight. So with that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion carries. We wish you well and hope you feel better. Public comments. The council welcomes and encourages the public to speak during the public comment and public hearing portions of the agenda. However, council policy is to hear the public comment, not to act on the public comment at this time. Concerns brought before the council during the public comment portion of the agenda will be referred to the city manager for action. If after communicating with the city manager, no resolution is reached, the concern will be elevated to the mayor and then eventually to the council for action. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like a direct response. I'm sure there is a reason for the festive bathrobe.
So my name is Cami. I'm from the Cedar Springs Public Library. I just left holiday PJ nighttime story time. And we had a surprise guest reader of Santa. So I must go back and make sure Santa gets back to the North Pole in time to deliver all the presents for Christmas. So what I would like to share with you what happened at the library in November and then some things that are going to be happening in the new year. So in the month of November, we had 121 attend story time. We had 21 participants in the babies and toddlers for fall bingo. We had one finish 1,000 books before kindergarten.
Woo!
We had 29 participants in the 6 to 11 age for fall bingo. We had 7 for teens and tweens. We had 1 participant do the I Spy. We had 17 do the scavenger hunt. We had 4 disguise a turkey. We had 5 adults unmask a book, 4 actually unmasked the book. We had 32 teens unmask the book at the career fair at the school, and 18 unmasked the book there. For the adults, we had 1 at tech tutoring. We had 23 attend the charcuterie board class. We had 4 at writers group, 8 at book club, 32 donors at the blood drive, 64 attend the fabric art, and 137 at the enhanced fitness throughout the month. That is going like gangbusters.
Really?
We held 2 contests on Facebook and we had 2 winners. CTA came to visit. There were 36 students and 3 adults. So coming in the next year, we will be starting a toddler sensory time once a month. And we're going to be hosting some health related programs throughout the first 3 or 4 months. We'll see how they go. So watch for that. Once again, we are still looking for friends of the library. So the friends group is
Down to just 2 people?
is down to, well, there's 3 of us and 2 are our employees. So our friends group would really love some friends to come in and help support. So I am off now to escort Santa.
You also had an enormous group of people come to see
We
Santa.
had an enormous group come to see Santa this past Saturday. There were over 500 in the morning and over 60 in the evening. So very busy day on Saturday.
And I was there. She was just like on it.
Yep, I was telling them all the stuff. Do all the things while you're here.
It was phenomenal. I just gotta
Oh.
say.
So yes, it's gonna be fun. We are actually having a Christmas Eve story time and a New Year's Eve, not on those days, but the days before. So,
So December 23rd.
yep,
At what time?
that will be in the morning. So the
Okay.
11:15, both of those will be in the morning. So,
And
but
then
we do a
January
countdown.
30 or December 30
Yeah.
for the New Year's Eve one.
Yep, and we do a countdown and have balloons and everything. So
Woohoo!
it will be festive that day as well. All right, well, I am off.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for making sure Santa gets back.
Mommy said, hey.
I had the privilege of escorting Santa from the tree lighting up to the library. So
Can Sarge and I dress like that now?
I think.
I think it sounds fabulous.
I don't know that you can pull it off like she can.
Although we are the red flannel town. So if you would
It's
like to
very
come in your red underwear, I think that's completely acceptable.
Well,
With the
flannels, not.
Sure.
Drop door, rear end.
Knock yourself out. You're sitting on it.
Make,
so-
let's make that
God.
pretty clear.
All right. Any other public comment?
I thought that
You're,
it might be easier to invite him up during his item on the agenda.
I was
Okay,
gonna say,
fine.
you're on the agenda, so is that good?
Yes, great.
Okay. So then hearing no one, is there anyone on Zoom? Miss Johnson? Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to have public comment?
And Mayor, it looks like everybody is either a employee or a member of the council.
Renee, we hope you're feeling okay. Okay, then, hearing nothing else, moving on. I will take a motion we don't have any public hearings, right? So moving on, adoption of the agenda.
Make-
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Any changes, Mr. Manager?
I think you've got a clean copy, originally 6D, followed by another 6D and some other things, but I think we've got it fixed now, so.
Okay, so only 160, good to know. We got that. Anything else? Anything else? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Moving on to the consent agenda. Council members may request that any or all items be removed from the consent agenda. A motion is then in order to adopt all items not removed from the consent agenda. Requesting the removal of an item from the consent agenda is a prerogative afforded each council member and does not require the support of other council members. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those, we'll do a roll call in this one. You have some discussion?
A minor comment, and that is that the Board of Review is in dire straits of members. So if you guys know 2 or 3 people who are looking to,
And they don't have to be a resident or they do have to? I was reading through that in the email today.
so that's a good question. I know that 2/3 of them have to be property owners, but I don't know if the third has to be a citizen of the city or not. So I'll have
Okay.
to look into that a little bit more, but
When do they meet next?
here shortly.
Okay, so I need to like find somebody fast.
And they need to be good at like math.
They don't. So this is a position where you I shouldn't say second guess, but you review the work of the assessor. So citizens can request a meeting of the Board of Review where they'll come in and discuss the assessment on their property. So basically, citizens who, there will be a educational component starting now into the future. So it's It's not the easiest position to fill.
And they have to be able to meet during the daytime. Cause that's the rub. I'm like, most of the people I know have jobs.
Yep, I can bring you much more information about that. But if you can find people that might be interested in serving, please.
I was gonna ask Levi Belting, Stacy's son, who lives around the corner, but he works.
Yeah, these positions sometimes are different.
Oh, this is during the day.
Yes, that's
No,
the
no.
problem. I'm finding is I need somebody who
But like,
doesn't,
how often do they meet?
They meet twice a year. I think
Oh.
it's,
Then that might not be an issue then.
Yeah, they.
well,
might be
it's an
able to
issue
time
if you
off.
have to try to get the time off from a hospital or a school or right now when,
Depends on what your job is.
Twice a year is better than like monthly.
if you know somebody, send them my way.
Okay.
Or Mike's way. And I will interview them and appoint them, saying like, you're breathing and you live here. So, all right, then anything else on the, consent agenda? So I'll do a roll call because there is money involved. Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Ms. Hamel,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon.
Yes.
And Mayor Conley votes yes. I don't have to call the people who are not here, correct? All right. Motion carries. We have a consent agenda. Moving on, motion to approve resolution 2022-20, a resolution to
That's
approve.
on the consent agenda. isn't
Oh, it is. Is it?
Sorry.
You're right.
Action.
You're right. Action item. Sorry. Flip my page. Motion, I didn't print my copy tonight. So I'm using this one, so I'm a little discombobulated. Motion to approve continuing use of Zoom meetings to broadcast public meetings for 2023 at a cost of $299.80 annually. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I'm just gonna say, I think this is an amazing thing that we do and it is totally worth $300.
Agreed.
And I can tell people all the time, it is on YouTube and it is available on Zoom. So, especially with some of the things that have been happening in some other places recently that are neither on Zoom or on YouTube and yeah, I just think it's a
I
good thing.
honestly wish we had more people. I mean, as we've discussed, the
And
only
they
people
can-
watching are staff. and-
We can, but at least it gives them the opportunity to.
I
Absolutely.
think that I totally agree with you. I think the opportunity though, and just us offering that is worth the 300.
Now, that being said, I'd like to think that nobody comes and yells at us because we're doing a good job.
And I really like that, for example, Renee is ill tonight
Yep, I was
and
gonna say that. too. That's
still
also
can
worth it.
be here.
Yep, that's. also
And I also really like that Bill and Darla and, whatever, Marty, our staff don't have to be here. They can, be at home eating dinner and
Or in Epcot, as the case may be.
wherever they are, yes, or the manager can be in Epcot. And I greatly appreciate that I feel like that's a thing we can do for our staff. That is also a
I think
huge
so too.
thing. So the whole package of it feels very worth $300 to me. So, it's money, so I guess we'll vote on it. Ms. Atchison,
Yes.
Ms. Hamel,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon,
Yes.
Ms. Race. Not here. Ms. Conley. Yes. We have Zoom for another year. Discussion items, display pack easement problem.
So, Madam Mayor, Mr. Andy Blackmore is in the crowd. He is the president CEO.
In the crowd. The crowd of one.
He's in the crowd of one. He is the president CEO of Display Pack and might be appropriate to invite him to the lectern to discuss the issue.
We would love to have you come up and chat with us.
And Mr. Blackmore, could you say your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Andy Blackmore. I typed out some notes so I'd kind of stay on track and not wander.
So, Madam Mayor, would you like to hear from him? or-
Sure, sounds lovely. I would love to hear from you.
Awesome, thank you. Well, my name is Andy Blackmore. I represent the third generation of family leadership at Display Pack. Having took over as CEO in January of 2020, which was a phenomenal time to take over. First off, I can say that the company's moved. I start my 20th year here in January, so I've been with the company for a long time. I can say the move from Grand Rapids up to Cedar Spring has been phenomenal, and overall nothing but positive. From my perspective, we've had a great relationship with the city. Even more recently, completing a land swap to help with the economic development plan at the end of West Street. And in all sincerity, we love being up here and have a heart for the people up here. I'm frustrated, and sorry to be meeting you guys under the current situation. I understand the optics of this scenario completely, but I also know that our intentions are good. We wouldn't set out to shortcut things, or certainly not to create risk for the community. The unfortunate reality is that we moved up here, that we moved too quickly on this project and got way out in front of our skis. It's our fault, in particular mine, and nobody else's. For context, we've been working really hard to support significant growth opportunities by adding new thermoforming and extrusion equipment. Over this time period, our chilled water capacity quickly became the cog in the wheel and barrier to growth. I'm sure it's no surprise to you guys that the scale and scope of this changed rapidly as we continue to expand through this project. Very simply, our decision to put these units where we did was based on the proximity to our extrusion equipment, trying to minimize the cost of the piping and be efficient with the water usage. And in addition, our team noticed the J-Star nitrogen tank and pad that's out there, and it sits just north of where our chiller pads are located. And it's in the exact same line. Again, I think poor assumptions were made in this case. Based on what we've learned the last several weeks since the issue arose and Michael and I spoke the first time, we do not believe the chillers or the pads are any serious threat to city utility and should not hinder future maintenance should it ever be needed. It is important to note that as best we can tell, the water main does run north-south. It's just about 3 feet away off from the edge of our chiller pads, not underneath our chiller pads. This does need to be confirmed, but this is the best we can tell from the drawings that we have and some of the photos that were kind of taken as the project progressed. Given this, we feel option 3 in the memo that Michael typed up, which is great, in our minds, doesn't provide significant enough benefit, especially given the cost that it would take. Regrettably, at this point, if we were forced to move these systems, it would incur obviously extraordinary additional expense, and worse yet, it shut down our operations for an extended period of time, which would cause just incredible damage to our staff and our business. I 100% understand and appreciate the city and communities need to be protected from issues and risks, especially down the road. Based on where we are right now, we do feel like the second option makes the most sense. We are certainly willing to agree that in the event that the chillers interfere with maintenance or operation with the water main, we will bear those costs and also indemnify the city in whatever ways we need to do that for future scenarios that could arise. I do want to be clear that nothing that I've stated so far is any attempt to make an excuse for how we got to this point. We've definitely failed to follow procedures in many different ways with this whole deal. I do, however, know that the work that has been done professionally and will pass a future inspection, as kind of was noted on one of the action items on his memo. In closing, the last 2 years have been just an incredibly challenging time to step into leading a business, managing through significant COVID issues, global supply chain issues, inflation, and the unexpected death of one of our owners last year has been really tough, to say the least. I am super thankful to say that we've been blessed with incredible growth. Food packaging market conditions have provided the opportunity to grow very rapidly, requiring the addition of extensive investments in new equipment. We spent just roughly over 20 million in the last 24 months. And obviously there's incredible borrowings that go with that. But we've also added 100 new jobs just in the last 12 months at our facility here. At the same time, we've been able to increase wages in most cases and improve employee benefits as well, which is awesome. In addition, at the end of this year, J-Star, our tenant, who's on the north part of our building, they're moving out to their new facility over in Solon Township. They've already started that process. And they will be handing us an additional 135,000 square feet. We plan to utilize that entire building as we add more equipment and good paying jobs. We're actually renting about 100,000 square feet in Walker right now for finished goods and stuff like that. So we'll definitely be moving into that as soon as we can. Our vision for the business is long-term and right here in Cedar Springs. So I typed here, it's why I can generally say that I'm sorry that we're in this position, and I completely understand the optics of it and feel bad that we're here. But definitely want to try to find a solution that serves out all the parties well. So I don't know if
Mayor,
there's,
if I
yep.
could, just one question.
Please.
Like, where you indicated that J-Star had installed some kind of nitrogen something or other, is that the third unit, which is currently fenced in just north of the two coolers you put in?
that is not, that's further north
Okay.
than the unit you're talking about.
Okay, so the two coolers that were recently installed and then another cooler of some kind that was installed in
Yeah.
the last year, so those are all display packs.
Correct. Yep. Yep. These two newer coolers are a growth extension of that first one.
Okay,
Which-
I didn't know if we'd be bringing J-Star into this as well, because that third unit's obviously on top of the water main as well. Just want to make sure that we had all the parties we needed.
Sure. Yep. Any other questions for me?
Yes.
You talked about, option 3.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on option 1 or 2?
I think option 1 was us moving the equipment, which would be catastrophic probably.
2 was,
2 was I believe 2 was a hold harmless agreement, essentially.
if we have to get into the water main. Right?
Correct. Yeah, and any damage was to occur and us indemnifying the city from future issues and all that. And obviously, you know, that's the least damaging to our business. Again, I get the optics of that. Option 3 would be, as Mike had laid out, would be moving
Move the water.
Yeah.
the water main and us
Yep.
paying for that.
Yeah, I knew what the
Okay.
options were, but I wasn't sure.
Wanted to
If
make
you
sure we
knew
were
that-
all in the same
Yeah,
order.
Wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that you understood them and, how you felt about them.
Sure. Yep.
And, you know, that those were just options at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and we're open to, I mean, if there's other ideas or solutions, we
Our
want to be a
cons-
part of those. It's, yeah,
Our concern about the option of just simply saying a contract of you will, make it okay if the water main breaks and we have to go die for it.
sure.
The problem is what happens when it does that 25 years from now?
Right. Totally get it.
And Mr. LaRose is no longer the DPW director and Mike is not the city manager and we're not the council. And nobody has any idea
Yeah,
what is where and why.
sure.
And I have dealt with some of that with the 100-year-old drain that we have
Yep,
that has 4 buildings on top of it
sure.
that we had to then reconfigure and we don't want to be in that place.
Which cost the city $1.5 million.
That we had to then create an entire drain structure and have people pay taxes to fix and bring in a drain commissioner and it's not a pleasant thing.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, my understanding of an agreement, there wouldn't be a timeline on it, but I get people change and things change over time.
So really, I mean, I appreciate that that was the base of like, first we have to at least have you acknowledge this is the thing that happened. But really, we gotta move this drain.
Yeah.
We gotta move this water line. If you're not moving, I understand that it's millions of dollars to move these chillers.
Yes, and I would not want to be, and even with, talking about a past council, A past council created a moment in time for some people who had converted single-family homes into
Mhm.
multi-family dwellings. And
Didn't document it?
where is that paperwork? Because that was so many years ago.
Sure.
And it was a thing we talked about for almost a year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I appreciate Display Pack for several reasons. First of all, your predecessor was kind enough to give us a tour. It's a
Yeah.
nice
Mhm.
facility,
Yeah.
99% waste free, as I understand. Should be very proud of that. I'm grateful that there are good jobs in the city. I hear good things about working for you,
Yeah, that's good.
but this is spot.
Yeah.
And in 40 years, we have to
Did you say 4?
40.
40. If it comes up in 40 years or 25 years that, oh, the water main goes.
Yeah.
I can't just hope that documentation will remain in place.
Yeah.
That's
And-
past what I can control.
And 3 feet is on the water line.
Sure.
I mean, when you start digging,
Yep.
And Madam Mayor, the DPW director uncovered some of the pipe as well, and he found it within 6 inches. So we don't know exactly where it's at, but the entire installation is within.
yeah,
And I do recall when the brewery was being built, even that alleyway was not sufficient to support the neighboring building. They had to bring in additional some kind of support
yeah,
so that when they were digging for their foundation, the neighboring building did not give way.
collapse.
So if 3 feet, it's not gonna get it.
Yeah, no, I only brought that up just because the way I had read it, and I think even we both stood early on, is that that thing's running right under those chilled units, so.
Yes,
And that's why, as I mentioned with option 3, I know there's a storm sewer that runs underneath that service drive right there. And so in my mind, as I thought through and our team thought through option 3 there, it's like, we're not afraid of that option. I mean, if
okay.
that would certainly be,
I am.
yeah, I mean, I'm not
Are you
joking.
afraid, do you not feel comfortable with moving the water line?
Oh, no, I feel comfortable with moving the water line. I thought that he was referring to.
Just
Excuse me.
indemnifying?
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
No, we're
Oh,
talking
okay.
about the
I
option of,
misunderstood.
Yeah, yep, I was
Okay.
just trying to.
that was the first, like, Michael going out there and saying, oh, we have to do something.
Sure. No, I get it.
And
It's a
getting
good
on the
option,
phone
too.
with Jeff Sluggett and saying, we have to find a way to fix this.
And I think that because of the positive impact that Display Pack has had on the community, I don't want to make you move your $1 million installation.
Yes,
I-
we're gonna
I-
have to fix the fencing.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know
There's
what's
other
up with
things.
that. I mean, like, it's because the Waypine Trail is right there.
Yeah.
Like, that's gonna need to be, I don't know why the
So-
fencing's taken down, but it is.
Yeah, that was temporary. Because we were gonna put taller fencing up. I mean, we don't want people getting up on top of those things or. We could picture a kid going down the White Pine Trail and then being like, oh, that looks.
That
nice."
would
I
be
can
my
get
You know,
that.
so-
right.
Yeah, so
And
we-
Michael and I were like, what the what?
Madam Mayor, obviously, there's a couple dozen things that have to be sorted out. This is
Right.
just the 30,000-foot view.
Mhm,
of
yeah.
Fencing and screening and smokestacks, and there's all sorts of things, but. The city, as far as I can tell, and as far as the city attorney can tell, we have the right to have the stuff removed.
Yes,
Period.
Yeah,
It's on an easement. But, again, given all the things that we understand and the appreciation we have for Display Pack, I think we're doing them a favor to allow them to keep it in place. But, it's not gonna be easy and it's gonna be a little costly.
let's be really clear, there can't be any more
Oh,
that go on that spot.
this has been a,
Like, if you need to put more in, you're gonna have to come and pull a permit, and we'll have to
Yeah.
figure out where they can go.
Yep.
It's not, and it's probably gonna create some complication, because once we move the water line, that's gonna take out some additional spacing of where things can go in the future.
sure. Yeah, no, there's been a lot of lessons learned in this.
yeah, because we want to help you.
8 weeks, so.
We want to. So let us come to us with stuff and not necessarily us, but Mike and permits and let us.
And-
quote you.
And
Yeah, we've since
about
talked
talk
about that quite a
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
so-
talk to the planning commission, and I want to know how there are plumbers and electricians that did this.
And did not pull permits.
did not
I am-
My
Think they
question is-
needed to pull permits.
Yeah.
It
no,
was such a big
I-
project, I guess I don't understand. Like, who didn't know that they were supposed to do this?
Yeah, no, I told Michael this morning, I haven't witch hunted this thing to death. So I haven't, I know the contractors that we use are reputable. Awesome guys. They've done work for us over the years at a super high level. You know, we've had some transition internally with staffing and who's overseeing some of these things. I feel like there probably was a number of times where we were planning to do it or get it done and it didn't get done. So
So,
it's just things that it's my issue and we need to fix that process internally. I know that we have now, so.
Well,
But-
Ms.
well, if you fixed it, then you should know what happened.
Yeah, I,
Like, how can you fix
There's-
something if you don't know how it happened? Is my question.
well, I mean, at this point, we haven't got there isn't anyone that's sitting down saying, yes, I asked for this specifically to happen. It didn't happen. I think that's because we have solid relationships with contractors and everyone internally. There's a lot of mutual respect. No one's sitting here saying, you did this or you did this. When I talk about what's happened over the last year and how fast we've moved on this stuff and it's fair because this happened with that first chiller essentially that we put in late last year. I mean, this is, you can't claim ignorance for forever and I totally understand that. So I'm just telling you, I am certain that we had someone on our team that intended to do this or even told contractors that we were doing this and it didn't get done. And that's on myself and my brother-in-law, who's also the owner of the company, to make sure it doesn't happen anymore, you know?
So you have a plan.
So, but
in
that's
other
what,
words.
that's my question. What is the process and the protocol and now the policies?
Yeah,
Do you have those in place now? so
Yeah,
that doesn't
anything-
Happen again?
yes, any project like
This is
this,
such a huge project. It seemed like it's mind blowing to me that all of these professionals, that that's what you guys do for a living,
yeah,
would have made such an astronomical mistake that now we're here.
sure. No, I understand that. And I'm not trying to pass blame on anyone. There's a lot that I don't understand about this and have had to learn in a kind of a short period of compressed period of time. And even when we're talking about the smokestack, like I never would have thought extending this stack up would have had to drive some type of, I mean, we did that ourselves. We didn't even hire a contractor for that. So, yeah,
I think the
Yeah,
most
I
frustrating part here.
I understand your question completely.
I don't feel comfortable approving something. If I don't know that this is not gonna happen again. That's my issue.
I don't think we're,
So I'm not
voting
saying
to
that we're
approve
going to
anything
approve
Yeah,
it.
sure.
I'm just my opinion in terms of all this. In terms of giving your company a pass.
Yeah.
You as CEO need to have things in place so this doesn't happen again.
Mm.
And I understand you saying like, I know you have good relationships with all your contractors and so you don't want to just be like, it was this person or
Yeah, well,
whatever, this
Yeah.
employee. But you probably need to figure that out.
Yeah.
So that that doesn't happen again, because something got messed up.
yeah,
Something didn't go the way it went, or 20 things didn't go the way that they're supposed to.
yeah, I think that's fair.
And so there needs to be actual, like, this is what happened. We know this is what happened.
Yeah.
It will not happen again because we will be following these policies now.
Right.
This is, I mean, if we have the ability to make you move millions of dollars worth of materials, the least you can do is have a plan actually written out
Yeah.
of why that will never happen again.
Ms. Hamel, we could require them to submit a copy of their policy as part of the agreement.
I would be for that. If any, because I totally support it and I get it that stuff happens, but I mean, big companies like that, you have to be responsible and make sure that it's not gonna
I'm
happen.
still having a little
There
moment
needs to
of,
be a reason why that didn't
I'm
happen.
having a little moment of, we had to catch this.
I think by.
You didn't come and say, you know, it's occurring to us that we're taking down this fence that's in between the White Pine Trail and that this is an easement. And I mean, at some point, did this not, like, if we had not went and said, whoa, there's a giant thing here on city property on a water line,
Right.
would nothing like, That's my issue here.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, we had somebody come out and make sure, like, as it relates to the fence. Look at where that property line was. And at that point, I mean, the water line thing was not on anyone's radar, honest to God.
Even
So,
though you knew you were hooking into water to get into your building for this chiller?
That might come from within the building.
yeah, that's coming from
But-
within, we aren't touching the water line or anything like that.
My frustration is.
The
had they-
fire hydrant was right there.
Had they pulled the zoning permit, had their contractors pulled electrical or plumbing permits, had they been aware of their, their obligations under any of these requirements that the city has, this whole situation would have been avoided. And it also speaks a little bit to maybe a distrust or a feeling like they can't come to the city to even ask these questions. I mean, I talk to dozens of businesses a week. And it's a little frustrating that they didn't at least say, hey, we're installing these things, next to the White Pine Trail. That we didn't know about it.
As a regular citizen that has to have orange flags put in to know where to plant a tree.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time here.
Yeah,
The concrete pads that they put these coolers on had to have been dug into the ground and Mistig was never called.
Oh,
So they're all.
That's what
sorts
I'm
of-
saying, and that doesn't give me very much confidence that there's not other things that weren't pulled for
Yeah.
permits. Which is why I'm saying, how do we, like, you're saying you haven't witch hunted it, you need to witch hunt it. Like, you need to know how this happened.
sounds like.
Exactly.
Very
If it was
lucky.
one specific company that you're contracted with, or if it's a bunch of policies that your employees are skirting around,
Yeah.
like, what was it?
Yeah.
Because you cannot come and sit here and say that it won't happen again if you have no idea what caused it in the first place.
sure.
Or no idea what other permits did you not pull for other stuff.
Yeah,
And,
How are we supposed to know that until it happens again?
and I think
You would have no idea.
from
Ms.
your
Nixon?
side of it, concrete pads had to be dug into the ground, so your contractor missed $100,000 per city block by 3 feet. Holy cow, man.
right,
Like,
right,
this was already gonna be a bill. He was only 3 feet off.
yeah,
Thank God.
right,
Oh, that's rough.
yep,
And not to mention, like, if you had hit that water line and depressurized our entire system,
Oh, there's sanitation. That would
Yeah.
have needed to happen, so it would have been.
and we
worse.
would have had to have a boil water permit, and we would have had to run all the testing with, you're talking about 5,000
Massive,
people
right.
suddenly without water.
Yeah.
In a nursing home, in a hotel and, hospice care and all sorts of things.
And
Sure.
several, medical offices and
Couple dozen restaurants.
Yep.
not to mention just like regular people with like, babies and
So I think the point is there's a reason why we take this so very seriously. But I think I've got a good handle of what the council wants. I have a letter, which I will send them back probably tomorrow. And then it's gonna be down to display pack to make a decision about what they wanna do.
Good
And
luck.
again, we think you're a wonderful business, but you're not so wonderful that I'm willing to cut off water to the entire city.
Sure. Yeah, no, I completely understand, so.
I do appreciate you taking responsibility for it, though. That was refreshing, honestly.
It's hard to show up in person.
I
and say,
mean,
"May I please
seriously, I'm like, there's been lots of businesses that have not done that.
And he
Yeah.
didn't send
That
a
is-
flunky, he didn't send some.
Really.
Yes.
No, we
commendable.
personally
Yes,
showed up.
and thank you for saying the buck stops here. I appreciate that as much as I get the, like, I don't want to throw other people under the bus.
Yeah.
I appreciate that and I appreciate that you want to deal with that on some level with your people. But I also understand that when you're hiring contractors, like they have a legal obligation
Yeah.
outside of you to pull these permits into function in this capacity.
Sure.
just like our water treatment facility people have legal obligation when they send those test things off to the state, that isn't just to us. It's also to the state. And there's some of that going on that clearly didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's one thing when it's, somebody's cousin that like ran a pipe to their garden hose. But that's not what this is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of want some of those names.
Yeah.
Because when we do that kind of contracting,
Yeah, we've talked about that, contractors and things like that, so.
I'm
I don't have
really
any issue with that,
uncomfortable
so.
if I would be going out to bid for any of that.
Yep.
I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
Choices were made.
Choices were made.
Sure.
So, yeah,
I just think as an attorney, if I did something like that, the equivalent in the law, I'd lose my license.
as a
Well, like-
teacher,
Aren't these companies like insured and stuff for that exact reason? Like that you're supposed to
Kinda
be able
wondered
to
if
like
they
trust
wouldn't
that they can
be-
do,
Playback might have a third-party lawsuit against some of these.
which is why I'm saying it needs to be witch hunted. Honestly, like I get it if you don't want to do it publicly or whatever, if that's not your thing, but
That'll be their decision to make.
yeah, but
All right, you guys,
are we good?
yeah. Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
May the force be with you.
Yes, may the force be with us all.
Okay.
I really appreciated that your company switched over to making PPE during the pandemic to protect healthcare workers.
Yeah, no,
You were one of the first
Yeah.
companies that did that. And I'm really grateful for that.
I appreciate you saying that. Plastics gets a bad name sometimes until desperately needed, so. But anyways,
Get your flu shot if you haven't.
yeah, I have not, but I likely will.
Pharmacist Jody is fabulous, gives an amazing shot.
over by Big B Coffee.
Yep.
Okay.
She's Cedar Springs Pharmacy, highly recommend.
At what, at mine?
No, she's
No.
the Cedar Springs Pharmacy,
Yes,
over by
yeah.
Big B Coffee, over by the
Okay.
florist, over by Jet's Pizza. Her name is Jody. She's phenomenal.
She's
Yep.
amazing.
She has given me lots of jabs and I highly recommend. And
Okay,
flu is wicked this year. Get your flu shot.
yeah, I had that RSV, so I know the,
Oh, thanks. Sorry about that.
yeah, no problem. And Molly, you had mentioned, my father-in-law had you guys up, previously, and I think that would make sense to do, especially if we can get this figured out and.
Sorry, Mr. Blackboard did indicate that after J-Star leaves and once they start moving into the other side, that you might want to bring council out for another visit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Lovely. And I think we did a TIF,
IFT.
an IFT. We did an IFT. And it was like 10 years.
It was, I actually looked that up. I think it was 12. and
12
it
at
was
the
pretty,
time.
And it was like some ridiculously small amount of jobs, like 12 jobs or 15 jobs or that.
I don't remember the details, but it was a 12-year IFT at the time. We could look up the details.
I was gonna say, but you have far exceeded the expectation of that. And so again, for that, we're grateful,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
but
we-
not so grateful I will let you cut off the water to
No,
the
I-
entire city.
I totally understand. So we've, I didn't mention, but last year where we were at, this year we'll have doubled our revenue from.
Nice.
So some of that's just material related and the cost of materials gone up so much. So that's kind of false number a little bit, but, it's been a good run and we're really excited to keep it going, hopefully. So. Wish I was here under other circumstances.
I completely understand. So thank
We'll get
you.
through it. Later, there will
Again.
be cookies and a tour and it'll be good.
Yes,
We could even bring the cookies.
yes, cookies and cookies. There should be cookies. You're right.
Good night.
All right. Streetscaping and park updates, Mr. Manager.
So Madam Mayor and I had a discussion about this issue. Basically,
And I've called several of you and I've sent messages and curb bump outs and
Well, there's lots of stuff we talk about, but specifically, sometimes we have grant opportunities that come up, out of the blue, last second. And virtually every one of them needs to have a plan ready to go. If we were to, put our RFQ, hire an architect and engineer, get the plans put, that's a 3-4 month process at minimum. And it's very difficult to get that timing wise for some of these grants.
So if we can have them on the shelf.
So if you have plans on the shelf, I think that, makes our job a little bit easier in trying to get some of these grants that come up available.
Love anything for a grant.
Yep, so, I've talked to Rick Stout, he's the architect engineer who, did the Heart of Cedar Springs project and the 17 North Main project. 17 North Main, as you guys know, we were awarded. There is a video I sent you guys in your email today with a beautiful man with a beard who gets to talk about that issue.
I saw it.
It is quite fabulous.
And also, the Heart of Cedar Springs with the DNR, which we're waiting here any day now to find out whether we got that. We scored pretty well on it. Don't know. So he's going to provide me with a cost estimate for a couple things. Main Street streetscaping is one of them. Our streetscape is just kind of old and outdated. And when you add the street bump outs, I think you increase the amount of space that we could use for some of the streetscaping. So he's gonna put together a plan for that. Internally at City Hall, we've discussed updating Riggle Park. Some of the play structures at Riggle Park are very outdated and unsafe. And then similar to Morley Park, there's a little bit more we'd like to do there. We'd like to remove that internal dirt road, replace it with maybe an asphalt path that kind of winds its way through everything. There are some outdated play equipment there as well, and I'd like to see maybe a multi-sport kind of asphalt to concrete pad at some point. But the fourth one, I was actually just sitting up at the library in my car thinking about it. The creek area around kind of where the pedestrian bridge is, I think we can make that more accessible to the public. So I asked them to put together a plan for that as well. But
We looked at some pictures about ways to make it so, particularly if you have an accessibility issue, you can actually get down into the creek
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
for like fishing and that kind of thing. But we've got to make sure that we can do it in a capacity that protects the creek.
so Eagle would be the most difficult part of that, but grant dollars and having these plans on the shelf. So I don't know what it's going to cost yet, but I just want to let you guys know. I'm working.
Yeah, and this engineer has been really fabulous at dealing with one, environmental issues, and then two, also with accessibility.
And he's been very reasonable on cost.
Yes.
Any thoughts, questions?
I'm supportive. What are you, what,
1000% supportive of anything that will help us get. all these
Yay,
things.
grants.
This is, yeah,
We've been highly
is
successful
important
with
to me.
grants over.
I
Mhm.
know, which is
Yeah.
why I like, you guys are with grants. and
This
stuff.
is, well, and a big piece of this is about having that extra income, right? Because you have to have a certain amount of money
Sure, to match.
to match.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
And until we had that, like, you can't go for a grant that requires a $20,000 match if you don't have the $20,000
$300,000 match.
or whatever, pick your number, but we have to have the money. And that's been a huge,
The economic development we've done in this community, and running a fairly lean city hall has enabled us, on a yearly basis to put money back into fund balance. As you guys saw at the audit, we put something like $180,000 back into fund balance last year, which then enables us to do matching on these types of grants.
which also allows us to pay to get some architectural drawings
Right,
to put on the
before-
shelf.
And then we wouldn't have to pay for that then with the
Well,
money either.
and it's already,
Like, it's already paid for.
it's ready to roll. So does that
Yeah, I
clarify?
just want to make sure you guys were aware of what I was
Yes.
working on and.
Love a door, 100%.
Moving on, future, any other? Okay, future municipal property identification committee.
Already. So at a previous meeting, we talked about forming a committee for streetscaping. But I think at this time, we probably need just a little bit more professional work on that, it's more complicated. But this issue, I think is a good starting place for some of our future issues. Which is we need to start identifying property in this community for either a future city hall, a future community center, or a future DPW garage area. So I was hoping that you guys might either volunteer or volunteer somebody who might be good on this type of thing.
and of course, you all know that a community building has been near and dear to my heart for a very long time. And if we could, attach City Hall to a community building, we put the offices in it, then when we need a big space, when people are mad and want to come yell at us, although that doesn't seem to happen as much, especially now that we're on video, there's space for people. And we need a community building. The community room at the library that seats like maybe 70 at the most is constantly checked out. If you've ever tried to get it for a birthday party or an open house, or it is, the calendar is just booked solid. We need a serious community building. So the next question is, if it's gonna be a community building slash, city hall, where do we put it? So I, have asked Mayor Emeritus to think on it. I have asked several other people who are knowledgeable of the history. Most people feel it needs to be, if not on Main Street, like right off of Main Street within the vicinity. So that's kind of a piece of it. And I'm not asking for any of you to specifically give me a thing right now, but more like, do you have people that would be interested in being on that committee? Because at the moment, it's like myself and the planning commission chair and Mayor Emeritus and the city manager. So,
I'm like over,
well, no, you don't
Yeah,
necessarily
right
need to
now.
if you know someone. that
right,
would
yeah, I
be-
don't know anybody yet, but I'll think on it.
So just kind of think on it. I'm talking to the folks of the community building development team because they were also looking at building a community building slash gym. And I talked to the folks at just really, really tangentially at City Impact, at the library thing this weekend and said, I know that you're looking at trying to build a gym. If the city could do it, would you be interested in kicking some of, that money in? The other thing is, the more pieces of this we can get, we can probably apply for some grants. If we're looking at things like gyms, community buildings, so on.
Not currently aware of any grant opportunities, but, we'll start looking into it.
This is what I'm hearing from the community building development team people is that that's sometimes what makes it easier is if you have these multi-system, it's part of how they got the bike path for the middle school.
Well, like, what's wrong with this building?
Lots.
Well, there's lots of things wrong with this building, but, it's partially about the things that are wrong with this building and also the opportunity to put together a community center. Because if you're going to build one building, building two at the same time is much cheaper. But it's also the DPW garage. Part of, I could list the issues and I think I have in my notes, but the King County Sheriff's Department is leaving next year sometime to go to their own facility up by Taco Bell. This room was not designed to be a council room. Can't hardly be used for multi-space use because of the gigantic desk that you guys all sit at.
Which is like 4 feet of concrete.
So it's a significant piece of concrete underneath you, which is why it's difficult to move. Heck, even the front door that you come into in City Hall is just not ADA, friendly.
I guess my question is like, why wouldn't we renovate this to make it what we want it since it's already on Main Street in a huge building?
We-
And then move
Well,
like the
it's-
garage
but it-
somewhere that doesn't.
It's
need-
not really a huge building when you're talking about a community building.
So, it's possible. And so this is part of what I'm asking the community to look at is we're gonna need a certain amount of size, location,
Parking.
utilities.
I'm saying that's like
parking.
a lot and we're small, especially if you want it to be on Main Street.
So
I'm also talking to somebody who's only been here for 2 years, so I don't.
We need a community building
As
that's,
much like,
okay,
I-
we need a community building that seats at least 300.
but I'm saying I don't know of that exists. Does that exist? Is there a building that
it's a
exists?
plan.
No, which is why we need to build one.
Okay,
that's what I think we need a committee
Okay,
for to
but-
identify property. But
So,
okay,
yeah, so you're wondering, that's what I was wondering too. Are we looking for a building that's already
Because, like,
here?
thinking
No,
Are we
on,
looking
like,
for
Main
property to
Street, on,
build?
like,
What are we
Main
doing?
Street or
Yeah.
whatever, it
Yes.
has to be like in a central location, which makes perfect sense, and I'm totally in support of a community building. Also multi-purpose, which is more efficient.
Not to
I'm just-
contradict the mayor, but I'm not opposed to a building that exists that could be renovated.
Yes.
Including City Hall,
We just can't think of one.
but yeah,
Then
we're having a difficult. There's one or two buildings I think that might be usable, but I want to make a list of 10 or 20. Because at some point you're gonna whittle them down because you can't buy this one or there's not utilities at this location.
Or are you saying to like buy a house and then like demolish it and then
Possible.
build it? Okay,
That's a
all right,
possibility,
okay,
or to
that's
look
what-
for,
Which is fine, I just like.
or to
really
look
wanna
for
know what you're
open
looking for.
property.
Okay,
Property that doesn't have a building on
and
it.
then what would we would do with this?
Sell
Possibly
it.
sell it for commercial purposes.
It used to be an auto body place.
A gas station.
No.
It's Hanson's for a long time.
It wasn't built to be a city
Could it
hall.
be the DPW,
Okay.
just a DPW?
Like
building?
garage?
So, the discussions I've had with Mr. LaRose is it would be nice to have a large pole barn with maybe a concrete block office within it.
Mhm.
But it also has to have grounds around it because the DPW actually does quite a bit of outdoor storage.
Also, I think a garage and right on Main Street is kind of a waste too.
So, we actually did reserve one of the parcels, on West Street at purpose. And that's probably the best location.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and DPW doesn't need to be on Main Street.
Right.
Right.
It's the city hall piece of it.
Community, like voting, all that stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
people coming in.
Right.
Obviously, Main Street is also problematic because there's not many properties available.
Right.
Now, Main Street, we do have the ability to extend on some level on either end.
Okay.
I mean, when you're thinking, and Main Street doesn't have to be Main Street. It could be
It could be like a
First
block
Street.
In
It
the
could
vicinity
be,
though.
yes.
Okay, that makes
We
sense.
could go a block either way and it would probably be
sufficient.
fine.
Is that old gas station property not big enough or problematic?
Down by Morley Park.
Yeah.
That is a possibility.
It is.
It's gonna need some fill.
It's wet.
Did they remove the tanks?
I don't know.
It's wet, like
But-
behind it.
So Miss Atchison.
Well, you
sounds
need
like-
that whole,
Sounds like you'd be great on the committee because you're already thinking about the problems.
Got so many things. I'm on the search committee at church. I'm on this.
it's okay. It's okay if you're not. Like, and you
Yeah.
can just funnel things towards us.
Okay, I will.
But this is,
Or just like when you're driving, you're like, oh, that one.
right.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, Mr. Planning Commission Chair.
Mhm.
And if
Okay.
there are other people on the planning commission
Yeah.
that are interested, the
I gotta say.
the
no.
community building,
Good for you.
the community building needs to seat 300. Because the graduating classes now are over 300. And they need to be able to, because the original plan for the community building development team was to put a community building on the far side by the amphitheater at the heart.
Yeah, but don't you do graduations at school?
Class reunions. Class reunions. They need a place. So when you're thinking about a place for your community to be able to get together, you should think about the size of your graduating classes who are going to come back for class reunions. If you don't have a place where your high school can have a class reunion, you've got to struggle.
So Madam Mayor, 300 is a very large building.
It is.
And, you know, I'm not entirely convinced that 300 is the number we need to shoot for, but do you know how big of a building 300 people would need?
You're supposed to get me acres and parking spaces and that kind of stuff.
Because
Well, you need at least 100, right? Spaces
Also-
for 300?
so parking obviously is gonna be an issue. But I don't know where the 300 number is coming from, and as Ms. Hamel has indicated, the school has significant space, and if we're talking about school-related issues,
I'm not talking about a school-related issue.
graduating classes and the.
Class
Well,
reunion,
you're not
Class
related
reunions could
anymore.
also be done in Grand Rapids.
right?
Or in
Like,
a part
in
of-
a- in a part of bigger-
Which is what happens right now. They go to Grand
Yeah.
Rapids.
We don't want to go Grand Rapids.
Exactly.
In any case,
Guys, my class was 24. We don't do.
I graduated in the class of 502.
any case, when I came on board 6 years ago, I inherited a list, similar to what I'm asking you guys to put together, of where the future fire station would go.
Mhm.
That fire station's now built.
Mhm.
And there were lots of properties on that list that were not workable.
Yeah.
But we had a list and we chose one of the properties that was on that list. So whether it's gonna be 100, 200, 300, or a city hall or a combination or whatever, I think it's appropriate to start working on a list.
Do you still have that list?
Look for it.
And what a thing that Mayor Emeritus said to me that struck me when you're thinking about places, and he has several on his radar, is it could be a two-story building. With the space on the bottom for the community building space and the offices on the second floor. And the other piece is we get to the bigger community building space if we include a low ceilinged gym, which gets us to that space for what the community building development team / city impact was looking for. Cause we were hearing for quite a while from Parks and Rec, one of the big things they wanted was more gyms. And what I'm also hoping, I'm seeing a no. Yes, you would have to have an elevator. You would well, I asked that question and I was told they're not that astronomically expensive.
I mean, we're talking about probably a $3 to $4 million building, so.
Right.
In that, it's not that expensive. But if you're trying to renovate an old building, it does become expensive.
Sure, but if you're building new,
Google and I have some numbers when you're ready.
sure.
So I Googled how many square feet for 300 people. And it seems to range depending on if people are going to be standing or seated,
Standard.
standing
like
or
it, it's a new
seated,
word.
between.
on their lap?
Maybe.
Is
Between,
this like the queen size mattress at the park?
could very well be, between 1,800 and 3,600 square feet, which is a sizable.
It is. I think we're talking about a big building. I think we're talking about a big building in a space that has
And
to be
so-
built from scratch.
So it could also be separate. I mean,
It can.
sure, it could be a city hall but
Sure.
but we're saying to house 300 people, that's not housing an office or,
Correct.
that type of stuff. That's just to
That
get
is
three
just
people
the-
in the
That
door.
is 300 people
Yeah.
in a room.
In a room.
Yeah. So it'd have to be even bigger.
Sure.
Yeah, if we're gonna do them both
Why
together.
wouldn't we just have like a real estate agent?
Well, we'd have to pay them, but also we're as intimately familiar with this town as any real estate agent
You guys are.
and
Yes. Thus the committee.
there is a difference between what a real estate agent does and what we're doing. Because real estate agents are not gonna be of the mindset of, oh, if we buy these two houses, we can demo those and use the land underneath.
Or where is there in a place where we can extend Main Street and there might be a piece of field where we could build something? Or where are there empty lots that we could fit this in if it were 2 stories and?
Or where might there be land that the city already owns that we could augment in some way? Because a real estate agent is in the business to make a living. And it will be to their benefit to say, oh, you should buy whatever. Whereas our interest is, how can we do this the most efficient way?
And they certainly aren't going to be recommending that we use property we already own.
I mean, you could if you had a real estate agent from Cedar Springs do it and then just not have them.
And why would they do that? Why would they put that kind of money in?
Said, we do have. some
Because
agents in city
They
work.
live in the
Well,
city.
somebody else is gonna do it. If an engineer or like a teacher is gonna be on this committee, why wouldn't we ask for a real estate agent?
Well, they can
Oh,
be
they're
on the
welcome to
committee.
volunteer.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay,
Why
I thought
wouldn't
you meant that
that-
We should hire a real estate agent.
Okay.
It seems like that makes sense. to, like,
Sure.
I'll
Oh,
look for
of
those types
course.
of people.
Yes.
Of course,
and then
I've
just
had
say
that
that they can't.
conversation with one of those people.
Oh,
Alright, yeah.
Yes, we clearly misunderstood.
That's okay.
So what we're asking for right now is for you all to start, because one of the things we talked about is maybe we could put it out at West Street. Now, the problem with that is, it's not on Main Street. We got lots of dirt out there. But it does mean it's not directly in town.
For City Hall, not deep.
Correct. Yeah, we're considering the DPW garage separate.
I mean, we just want options right now.
Mhm.
That's it.
So,
In each of the options is gonna have something, as Ms. Atchison indicated, problem with this.
Along with it, yeah.
and we're gonna have to hook up water at some point, and we're gonna have to hook up sewer, and we're gonna. And this is also why the community building development team, to me, seems like a really important partner in this, because they have been wanting to make this building for a while. And so if we can work with them. And Sue Spar certainly knows this community. And I mean, and her and I were on the committee that built the middle school. So, and the athletic complex.
It's actually a fairly common thing for city halls to go into old churches as well.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any of those that are,
None that I'm aware of right now.
yeah,
But we do have plenty of churches.
mm-hmm, but I don't know of any that are like vacant for sale.
All church, a lot of churches are struggling,
Okay.
but you
struggling
don't know of any in
themselves.
Shooter, yeah.
I was gonna say, most of the, and like the churches I know are, I talked to the president of the chamber at the Santa thing, and he said, we're looking to build a church because they are currently meeting in the middle school. So I don't know of any, I mean, again, I would be open. But I think what I would like for all of you is to think about people who might be interested and knowledgeable about this. I have a few people already that I've talked to say, like, Mayor Emeritus knows every square inch of I mean, he's dug pipes into all of it. So he obviously is going to be one of the people, but I'm going to get some of our longtime library people and school people, and I mean, you tell me, but if you have ideas or you want to be on this committee, or people that want to be on this committee, please bring them to us. And this is not something that's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, this is
You guys win the lottery.
even
And give it
then,
to Cedar Springs.
Yes.
even then,
That's not happening. Love you guys.
even then,
This is a long-term plan.
this
Okay.
is I mean, this is going to take at minimum several years. So we're gonna have to locate property, we're gonna have to figure out what are all the purposes that the building is, there's lots of like, why couldn't we buy Hilltop? That has come up like 3 or 4 times. As far as I know, the school is not interested.
Part of it. I also understand the Hilltop actually has significant costs for making sure it's a safe building. And it just has very poor parking.
I'm not so sure that that piece of it is accurate, because when I had that conversation with the superintendent, I said, so what happened to all the renovations that we did in like 2000 to 2004? And he's like, oh no, it hasn't had anything done to it since 1992. And I'm like, well, no, we passed a bond.
No, because I went to school there in 1992 and it certainly was not their offices, but that's.
Right.
okay.
Well, in the entire conference room that used to be the media center, we did that when I was on the school board. That was part of the bond that was passed that built the middle school and that built the athletic complex. So there's some records missing somewhere.
Sounds an awful lot like the conversation that the committee should have.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just, and again, if the school doesn't want to sell it, the school doesn't want to sell it.
Sure.
And that's up to them. But I've had multiple people say to me when I've said this is the thing we want to do, their very first thing was Hilltop. I get it. I love Hilltop. I'm certainly open to it. But last I knew, the school was not. So that right there is the deal breaker. But for what it's worth. So, any other questions, comments, thoughts on that? Okay, if you have people that I'm going to be forming that committee, and in a more formal way than just me sitting in Mayor Emeritus's living room and saying, so where would we put this thing? So there you go. And we will be looking to try to use some multi-use things for this. And we'll be trying to do it without like asking people to pay a bond. So we'll be looking at like money from property sales sale of this building, so on, to make it happen. If that makes sense. All right, future municipal building property identification committee, we need to come up with a better name for that. We have a good idea of where we're headed with that. Communications, community event calendar. Any thoughts, questions?
Generally, we don't put these things on to be individually discussed.
So communications, anybody got any questions about anything here?
So I'll only point out one thing, and that is item G. The Friends of the White Pine Trail do visit me on a regular occasion. They say that the two crossings in the city are the last two non-paved crossings.
yeah.
in the city.
Mhm.
So I would like to add that at some point, but as you guys know, we try to do these things when another project is nearby. So it's a goal, but not something I'm desperately wanting to accomplish.
Ugh, I don't know, it's really hard to run across those.
So, part of the issue is that you guys don't know this, but the Maple Street crossing actually is paved.
That's what I read and
However, it's covered by dirt from the driveway that CS Manufacturing installed without the city's approval. So part of it would, we'd have to extend the paved portion further to the west and then regularly brush off the dirt that is brought on by their employees.
why can't they do that?
Well, they could if we had some way to force them to do so.
Do we?
Not really, apart from the fact that we could also cut off their driveway, which was illegally installed. But the other one is all equally problematic, which is one down by the wastewater treatment plant.
Mhm.
Because on either side, it is dirt road. So we'd basically be having a paved portion surrounded by dirt road.
Okay.
So something I will work on, but nothing we can accomplish.
I mean, I get it's not like a huge
But if we're out
priority,
there,
but when running on it, it is it's hard to go from pavement to the gravel. I'll like literally always die. I'm not so far though.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Biking isn't very good to go from that to that either.
But
Mm-mm.
no bike.
It's like a softer.
dog walking has
Yeah.
not been a problem, but Baxter and F don't seem to have much opinion on
That's funny.
dirt versus pavement,
But yeah, glad to see this like on the radar. Is all I'm saying.
okay, anything on the communications? We have our second person on the library board. I will be, and Miss Newland, or Miss Johnson, I will be asking you to put some certificates together, if that hasn't already been asked of you, for our outgoing library board people. To say thank you for your years of service, and then our new people are gonna be onboarding, and I'm gonna bring cake.
Certificates of appreciation.
Yeah, to say thank you for your service.
That's cool.
They're gonna have the previous person, Miss King, come back, who's already been off, and then Miss Powell just had her last meeting. And then at the next meeting, when both new people are seated, those people are gonna come back and we're gonna say thank you, and there'll be cake. I'm going to buy some cake. So if
Is there
y'all,
gonna be cake there?
there's
Pam?
gonna be cake.
Okay.
So if you would like, you're welcome to come as well. There will be cake, because everybody knows library boards are so exciting. So yeah. And I think but that is really, like, we have two, like, new people, and our long-term people have been there for 15, 18 years. So this is
That's awesome.
sort of a thing. Anything else? Anybody wanting to do MML training? We do have some budget for that, if it's a thing. I know, in your copious spare time.
I did it this year. I did it before.
I've done it before too, but they have.
I know you can do
additional-
it again, but
So,
this is the new person.
I guess then we're on to city manager report.
So I apologize, this last month has just been absolutely overwhelming for me. Very, very busy in my office. Just, I think yesterday I finally caught my breath and I said, hey, I can start accomplishing some of these things that have been put off to the side, so. I apologize if I've been short shrift with any of the projects that you want to see worked on, but we have been accomplishing quite a bit.
There's been a lot of time where he's been like, get in my car, we're gonna drive around and I gotta point at things.
That's happened to me before too.
Right? So I get it.
See, now I forgot where I was going with that.
Sorry.
So, I guess I'll defer until I can remember something.
Okay, you've done a ton. You've done a ton.
Very, very busy month.
It has been absolutely crazy town.
I apologize. I remember now. This is one of those rare months where Hanukkah is kind of coinciding with Christmas.
Mhm.
Hanukkah starts on the 18th. I will wish you all a happy Hanukkah.
Shalom. Shalom Shabbarin. For all of the Hebrew speaking people in your world.
All I got for you. Thank you.
All right, Department of Public Works, Bill, you got anything for us?
Oh, just a couple things. We do have a new full-time employee, Al Smith.
Yay!
They have started the process of our new well. Still in sampling process. We'll probably know next couple months if we can proceed or not.
Okay. Any gut feeling on,
No, I don't dare take a guess on it.
Okay, fair enough.
You just don't know until you get the sample results back. So,
fair enough,
yep,
so fingers
it.
crossed.
yep.
And Bill, I personally want to thank you, and I know the city council feels the same way. You've probably been the busiest person in the city this past year. You did a lot of projects, including the bridge, all the
The paving out by the
fiber optic,
school,
Paving, you got a ton accomplished this year, so thank you.
I
sidewalks,
appreciate that. Thanks.
and the snow y'all moved.
Yeah, that was a little bit ridiculous.
That you all were rock stars. Like absolute rock stars.
It's a long winter to come, so.
But I mean, you were just on it. Like you had it cleared before anybody. So I just thank you for that. Moving on then to our police department, who I know was escorting Santa this last Saturday.
Yes, we were able to contribute with that this year. We were able to pool some resources together, got some other officers to help us from outside the city and within the city. And with the assistance from the fire department, we were able to shut down the roadways and get the parade out on Main Street again this year without adding additional costs to the parade, and which can help benefit the resources there. Things have been going well in the city. No big issues to report. Good.
Okay. Fire department, Marty, you got anything for us? Or whoever is there if it's not Marty?
I don't have anything that's not on my report. I'm busy, but good busy.
Likewise, the fire chief's done not only his normal job, which has been exponentially busier year to year, but he's also done a bunch of extra stuff this year, including getting the old ambulance, the old fire truck ready for sale, which was not nearly as easy as we thought it was going to be. And additionally, he's also taken the lead with Darla on the, what do you call it, Marty, where you got those people going through your station and getting food?
Oh, the food truck.
America.
Feeding America distribution.
So I think that's just an excellent thing that he does. We appreciate that.
And again, what is the day that happens on?
There's nothing scheduled for December, as I put in my report. However, we resume in January, and it's usually, I will get a copy of the schedule to Rebecca or Mike for publication, and it's usually the third Monday of the month, but not every month.
Okay. But we're hoping that it will be in January.
Yes, there is one scheduled for January.
Excellent. And I also would like to say, as a person who's had lots and lots of students out with flu, thank you for helping put on that flu clinic, vaccine clinic back at Red Flannel and getting people vaccinated, because those are now people who are not hopefully getting sick. So that was a huge benefit to the community that your firefighters were out there getting poked and smiling and making it look.
Sorry, I don't know.
And Marty, was that Rite Aid that put that on for us?
Yeah, I'd like to take kudos for that, but it kind of fell into my lap and I welcomed it. It was people from Rite Aid Pharmacy that contacted me, the manager of both Cedar and Sparta, and wondering if we had space available. And I discussed it with Mr. Womack and we come up with an agreement to let them set up. I don't think they had a huge crowd, but the crowd, they were happy with the crowd they got and hope to do it again next year.
So I just really appreciate that. Flu is hitting people really hard this year. And so the more that we make it accessible for people to get those vaccines, the easier it is on our community to have less of our, especially our older and younger people who are more vulnerable. So thank you for that. As always, you're protecting our community. City Clerk.
Been busy. The election went well. We haven't heard anything about whether or not we'll be audited. The state does random auditing. And we haven't heard because they have some recounts that have been filed. So auditing is going to be pushed back because of that recount. April and I will be going down to Kent County next week and the week after to assist them with proposal 2 and 3 recounts for the city of Grand Rapids and Kentwood.
I was gonna say there's multiple places, but it's not all of Kent County, like it's specific
Correct.
districts.
Specific districts.
Yeah, I was following that. It was kind of interesting. I also just got the email just in the last few weeks saying, congratulations, you won. So they just apparently got it validated. So good to know. So,
Congrats, Cam.
so, cause you know, that whole running on a post part, Renee and I were sweating it there for.
I don't know. There were some run-ins or write-ins. I told Renee I was.
So, thank you for going to do that. I mean, I understand that it's part of your job and I understand that you're gonna be paid and whatever, but thank you for doing that. And
And also for running an excellent election this year.
yes,
One of them.
every year that you run an excellent election and make it so that people can vote. The government teacher.
And way more people came. I was super excited to have to stand in line.
There was a
I was
line.
like, yes,
Sure would be
Yep.
nice to have a new city hall where we don't have a line and we can have it spread out.
yes, but listen, we're gonna
You want a
celebrate the
line.
wins is that we all said for people to vote. I brought
I'll
all
go
3 of my
slight one.
kids and we were waiting
big
outside
line.
to come in, and which was awesome. I was
Mhm.
very excited about that.
No, it was wonderful. I was really excited. So you did, yeah, you rocked it. And your staff, your election worker staff also. Thank
All
you to
very
them.
sweet.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.
I have my sticker on my iPad that says I voted.
Mhm.
It lives there. So when I'm reading, my students see it.
Well, it's cute.
They read on my
And
iPad.
that's why you bring your kids and your grandkids with you when you vote. So
Yep.
they know that
And
it's
the
important.
kids get honorary ballots
Yep.
that my kids are very particular about every single time, and they vote themselves, like the little sample, like yellow one. They're very excited about it.
The high school
We're raising
teacher,
voters over here.
the high school teacher had a whole pile of seniors that were 18.
Oh,
that
that's awesome.
Sent me selfies. Oh, my heart.
Oh, that's awesome.
With
That's
their little I voted stickers, right? So Gen Z is in the house. So thank you. Finance Director, Darla, what you got for us?
Nothing city wise, but I would like to put in a plug for the Cedar Springs Rotary Club is collecting hygiene items. There's a box in the entrance of City Hall and several around town from November 15th until December 15th. We're donating all of the items to the North Kent Connect facility that covers Cedar Springs area. And hygiene products are hard to come by for that facility. Very expensive items. So if you're feeling generous and would like to buy shampoo, soaps, deodorant, toothbrushes, anything on that hygiene list on the box,
What
please bring
size?
it back to City Hall by December 15th.
What size?
What size what?
Like, are we talking like travel sizes? Are we talking the big sizes?
Any size, they will take anything.
Okay.
And what is it, the services that they offer?
North Kent Connect,
Yeah.
it's a facility on Northland Drive. They have clothing, food items, but a hygiene pantry is something they've been trying to create for a while now.
Okay.
They help with a ton of things. They help with job placements, they help. with
Yeah,
educational
yeah, they
requirements.
have,
Yeah. They do application, like
gluten-free stuff.
how to fill out application.
Well, like, so when we donate, they'd be giving them away, like to.
Correct.
people
Yes,
who need
yes.
these. Okay.
Yes. And there's places where you can get food donated, but it's, and even clothes, but it's often hard to
To
get
do the.
soap and
okay.
shampoo and things that are consumable and not food.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a box at the front of City Hall if people
Yes.
want to put things in it. So excellent.
Much appreciated.
And I will just say, little plug, if you go to when you go to get your teeth cleaned at the dentist, they give you a toothbrush. Like
Oh,
we
that's a good
don't,
idea.
like we have electric
Yeah, I didn't
toothbrushes
even
and
know
we
that.
like, so we donate those toothbrushes. It's a really easy little thing. They're usually collect in a basket somewhere in a closet or in your bathroom. And if you go look,
Yeah, that's a great idea.
you'll find them. So, okay, moving on, code enforcement.
She continues to do probably the hardest job in the community. And she's pretty effective, but obviously it's a difficult job.
And she's the one who alerted us to the thing.
Yeah, we actually received a couple of people who let me know, but yeah. She finds all sorts of things like that we obviously have been able to take care of for the benefit of the community.
Oh, before we have to shut the water off to the entire city. Awkward. Building inspection, board and commission minutes. Everybody's tuned into anything you'd like to tell us about? You're our planning commission person.
just revisiting like our sign or and couple other things that we had to renew for take one to make what was that?
So the parking ordinance is one, industrial facade ordinance, solar regulations. Planning commission continues to do tons of hard work.
Heavy lifting.
It's
In a growing community where we keep building new things and bringing in new kinds of, it's a deal. It's a thing. So we appreciate all of the planning commission and we really appreciate your work.
I tell them that.
And we appreciate you taking that seat. That's like a big deal. Council comments.
Just thankful for our leaders and staff members and board members.
All right, Ashley?
Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Ms. Nixon?
Grateful for a short meeting, relatively speaking. And, you know, I'm thankful for staff that continues to do an excellent job.
And I'm just gonna say again, if you haven't gotten your flu shot, get your flu shot. Flu is scary this year. And lots of people are sick with lots of stuff, as we see, because there's 4 of us here. And lots of heavy lifting by lots of people. Our clerk, our city manager, our planning commission, our library board, I can just keep going, our DPW people. And I am continually amazed at everything that everybody is able to accomplish. And exceptionally grateful to be part of this team that's making this happen. So with that, we're adjourned. You rocked it.